Welcome to Travel with Sean. I'm Sean. Today we are in the Hanseatic City of Wismar, Germany, along the Baltic Sea. I'm standing in the Wismar Market Square. This is a good place to start because this is the historic center of the town. Since the town's founding in around 1230, the year 1230, this market square was established then, and ever since this has been the center of the community. Right next to me is what they call the waterworks. This little structure was built in the 1570s, and this supplied the water to the city until the early 1800s. Wismar, officially called the Hanseatic City of Wismar, was first mentioned in the mid-12th century and was an important member of the Hanseatic League, a powerful economic and political alliance from the 12th until the 19th centuries. In the 13th century, Wismar became a prosperous Hanseatic trading hub and an important center for wool processing. At the end of the 30 Years' War in 1648, Germany lost Wismar to Sweden. Less than 30 years later, in 1675, Wismar was captured by Denmark during a war with Sweden, but they had to return it 5 years later when they lost the war. In 1803, Germany bought back Wismar from Sweden, and the current town hall you see here was built around that same time. From 1949 to 1990, Wismar was the second largest port of East Germany, second only to Lübeck. In 2002, Wismar was recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Part of the reason is this building here, called Alter Swede, meaning Old Swede, which brings back memories of the Swedish authority from 1648 to 1803, but the house was actually built around 1380, more than 250 years before the Swedes arrived. As we move away from Market Square, we come to Marienkerkturm, St. Mary's Church Tower. The tower dates to the early 15th century, which marks the end of the church's construction, which began in the mid-13th century. The church was badly damaged in World War II during an air raid in April 1945. So it was blown up in 1960 because the damage was determined to be too much to repair. The tower could not be destroyed, because it was used as a navigation point for sailors. Now it's the oldest remaining structure in Wismar. We can still see the outline of where the church once stood. And the city has set up special viewing area where one can see the foundations of the 13th century church, which were discovered underground. As is common among many European churches, people were buried here for centuries, and some of those grave markers survived World War II and have been put on display as an outdoor museum. Many of these weigh thousands of pounds each. From the end of the 30 Years' War in the early 1600s, the granite for these burial stones was shipped here from Sweden. But not everybody had a gravestone, because gravestones were expensive. So it depended on the family's socioeconomic status, how much money they had. It was expensive enough to be buried at church or be buried in the church, but it cost even more for the gravestone. Wismar has one of the oldest artificial waterways in Germany, the Mühlengrube, which means mill ditch. It was created to bring water to the mills and to make it easier to transport lumber through the city. But it made it challenging for the pig farmers, who had to cross the canal to get their pigs to market. So in the 13th century, a bridge was built at the crossing closest to Market Square to enable the farmers to drive their pigs to market. The bridge was called Schweinbrück, or Pig Bridge, because of the reason for building it. Pig sculptures on the bridge were added in 1989 to commemorate the bridge's famed use. Now the bridge is a novelty. People want to come to pet the pigs and take their pictures with them. Nikolaikirche, or St. Nicholas Church in English, has historically been a church for sailors and fishermen, and St. Nicholas is the patron saint of sailors. Construction began around 1370, and it took nearly 140 years to complete. The church's design was based off of St. Mary's Church in Lübeck. In December 1703, there was a terrible storm that caused the church's spire to collapse, and that destroyed the roof, causing many of the medieval furnishings inside to also be destroyed. The church was repaired with a simple roof and a flat ceiling, but transformed once again into a vaulted ceiling in 1867. Although the church sustained some damage in World War II, it was the only one of the three to survive the war. Most of the medieval furnishings we'll see inside were from St. Mary's and St. George's Church, which were destroyed in World War II. The pulpit was donated to the church in 1708. Its sounding board on top is designed to look like a crown. A portrait of the man who donated the pulpit is attached to its entrance. One side of the main altar has a portrait of the man who donated it to the church in 1774, and the other side has his family crest. The inside of the church reaches a height of over 121 feet, making it the fourth tallest medieval church interior in Germany and the second tallest Gothic brick church in the world. Although this organ was built in 2010, it was designed to look historic. This is the bronze grave of Sophia of Pomerania, Duchess of Mecklenburg, who died in 1504. The pews here are also from that era and were in St. Mary's Church. Next to them is what's known as the Thomas altar. The central panel features St. Thomas Aquinas, the most important theologian of the Dominican order, standing between St. Thomas the Apostle on his right, our left, and the Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas Cranmer. This altar was carved and painted around the year 1500 and stood in the Dominican Church until the dissolution of the convent in 1562. The side panels feature scenes from their lives. The martyr altar was created around 1430 during the height of the Gothic period in Northern Europe. The quiet room is not a timeout room for naughty or unruly children, but it is for worshipers who wish to sit in silence for quiet prayer and or meditation. These 15th century artistic panels were attached to the choir stalls in St. Mary's Church before it was destroyed in World War II. Each section tells a story, a unique story, connecting viewers to biblical and liturgical narratives. Choir stalls were historically used by clergy or monks during Mass and other religious services, and they reflect the craftsmanship and artistic traditions of the Gothic period. This is a 15th century altarpiece from St. George's Church, which was also destroyed in World War II. The vault is a half-timbered building built in the middle of the 17th century as part of the city's fortifications. It stands over the Rundegrube Canal on two barrel-vaulted bridges that give the building its name. It originally served as an administrative and commercial hub for Sweden's possessions in Germany. In the 17th and 18th century, men called wine lords tested the quality of wine coming into the port. Before it could get to the town hall, wine had to stop here for the wine lords to test it. Later yet, beer was served in the vault by tenants. It has also served as a smokehouse for seafood. Wassertor, or Watergate in English, has nothing to do with American history. It was built in about 1450 and is the last remaining of the 5 city gates of Wismar's city fortifications. Wassertor stands opposite of the port of Wismar. This is where the fishermen historically brought in their catch, and there was a railroad between the port and Wassertor, which is what we're looking at now. Thank you for watching. Thank you for traveling along with me. Until next time, bye-bye. Here, piggy, 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 pucker up.